Have you ever wondered who makes up a football recruitment department, or at least who is involved in the signing of new players? If that's the case, then this video is just for you, and if not, then you've got to ask yourself, why did you click on the video in the first place? Okay, so what I'm going to describe isn't going to be the case for every single club. Some clubs have a lot more resources than others, but I'm going to kind of go over the different job roles which may be involved or may be included in a recruitment department and see how they work together, who kind of speaks to who, and who makes ultimately the final decision on new players. Okay, so to start the video off, we're going to start with director of football. So, you know, most clubs nowadays have a director of football or equivalent. This might be known as a head of football operations, as I say, director of football, technical director, or something equivalent to that kind of nature. So that person's job by the name is there to kind of oversee everything on the football side of the club. So that might include analysis, it might include financial kind of planning for the football team, it might include medical, and again, it then includes recruitment. So the head of football or the director of football would normally have a close relationship with the next person I'm going to mention, and that would be the head of recruitment. So, you know, some clubs have different philosophies in how they bring players in, but you will kind of see the director of football and the head of recruitment and also the first team manager or head coach have a close relationship. So those three are kind of at the top of the pile underneath the owner of the club or the CEO. So you've got the football manager, the head of football operations, and the head of recruitment. In one of my recent industry chat videos that I did actually with Andy at QPR, he is the head of recruitment, and he describes this exactly how him, Les Ferdinand, the director of football, and the manager had a very close relationship, and those three were kind of the ones that would make the final decisions on any potential signings. Okay, so underneath the head of recruitment then, so what does that look like? So we've got different things such as scouts, and we've also got analysts, and you know, scouts come in many shapes and sizes, and there's, you know, all different types of scouts. So we're going to start at the top, and this would be a chief scout or head of scouting. So this might, you know, depending on the club, you might actually have this or the head of recruitment, but you know, some clubs will have the two. So the chief scout or head of scouting will kind of, as it says on the tin, oversee the other scouts within the club. So you can imagine there's lots of different scouts within a club. So you have domestic scouts, which would be scouts within your particular country or your league or your regions. You would then have foreign scouts. You might have scouts scattered across in different countries abroad. You would also have video scouts, so scouts that are solely within the club and all they do is troll through video and watch loads of different games on video. You've got youth scouts, obviously, so you've got people out there watching kids when they're a young age, from, you know, under whatever it is now, under 8 so upwards, and you know, try and find the next best thing. So you've got scouts all the way up from the youth ages. You've got the video scouts, the foreign scouts, the domestic scouts. So all of that needs to come together, and that is usually done with the help of a scouting coordinator. Okay, so what does a scouting coordinator actually do? So if you can imagine you've got a team and there's a whole load of scouts. I've just named them all there. There might be people in different countries, you know, people all over the country you're in. There's lots of scouts and they're going to be watching lots of players and lots of different games. So that kind of needs organizing. So that is where the scouting coordinator will come in. So they may well, you know, decide or at least choose or organize which scouts go to which games, and you know, who they're watching, and also kind of organize all of the reports that are coming in on a weekly or daily basis. So the scouting coordinator can be a very important role to keep everything ticking along nicely. So I've seen roles in clubs where, you know, for example, scouting and intelligence coordinator, so that kind of adds another aspect to that role. So with the intelligence would also incorporate or include that person actually doing further research. So not just coordinating the scouts, but also doing additional research on the potential players that are coming in. So that would be, for example, you know, researching previous clubs, speaking to references, for example, checking out the players' social media, checking out any injuries, checking out anything that is hidden and it's not quite obvious to see from sort of, you know, a normal ground level. So obviously, if a club is spending a lot of money on a player, and obviously paying that player a lot of wages, the decision is a big one. So, you know, you need to get the decision right. So any additional information that you can find before you actually sign that player is obviously going to be a benefit to the club. Okay, so before I move on to the next few roles within the recruitment department, I do quickly want to ask a favor from you. So if you haven't already, please like the video and also subscribe to the channel. It will help the channel grow and reach further people, which I can then create more videos just like this. Okay, so let's recap what we've got so far. We've got the director of football, the head coach, and the head of recruitment as almost the top three, you could say. You've then got the chief scout or the head of scouting, who then oversees the domestic scouts, the foreign scouts, the video scouts, the youth scouts, and to help him do that, you've got the scouting coordinator, which also, you might have a different role or combined in terms of an intelligence role as well. So it could be intelligence coordinator, it could be, two separate roles depending on the club. And again, like I said at the start of the video, not every club is going to have all of these positions, but this is an example of a particular club within English football. Okay, so moving on to the analyst side of things. So normally a club would have their analysis department, which obviously deals with the first team in terms of post and pre-match analysis, but then there is a sector of that which is growing all the time, and that is recruitment analysis. So what does a recruitment analyst do? So I won't go into it too heavily, but they will be doing some form of video scouting, which I mentioned earlier. They'll also be looking through stats, they'll be creating presentations. So they kind of clip in players from around the world, and again, looking through, which leads me on to my next point actually, a lot of recruitment departments now rely heavily on external companies that produce and kind of deliver statistics on leagues all around the world. So that is another thing that the clubs can lean on, and that is the one particular thing that a recruitment analyst is useful for in terms of interpreting that data and also, feeding that to then, let's say they see a particular player that catches their eye from the data. They may that feed then to the scouts and the scouting coordinator, and then actually get a real life scout to go out and view them as well. So that's kind of a recruitment analyst. You've also got the data analyst, which again, you kind of know what that is already. So they might solely just deal with data, and they are, they might have your team kind of benchmarked, and then they know kind of the type of player that they're after, and they can look at that from a numbers perspective. So we've got the recruitment analyst, the data analyst, and then like I mentioned, the external companies and different software that produce and deliver the statistics to the club, which they can lean on to help make better informed decisions. Okay, so we've also got in this pile of people that are involved in signing players, we've got the agents as well, obviously. So obviously the agents may represent the players, but there'll be certain agents which are close to the chief scout, for example, or the director of football. So, those kind of roles normally come to people more senior because they build up many, many years of experience and they build these relationships with these agents. So, for example, the agents might bring players, or they definitely do bring players to certain clubs. So if an agent represents a particular player, they can then, whether rightly or wrongly, force a move, but they can kind of contact the contact that they've got at the club, whether that be the head of scouting or the head director of football, make them aware that their player is available or could be available, and then that's kind of what sets the ball rolling. So that's the agent. So that is a overview. Like I said, not for every club, but some, a lot of clubs are similar in that regard. So that's kind of the structure of who is involved in the recruitment of football players and transfers. In terms of who makes the final decision, it tends to, you would like to think it would be a joint decision, but again, every club is different. So the research is done, but then ultimately the manager has to kind of at least give the okay. You would suspect that they want that player coming in, otherwise it's just a waste of money to bring a particular player in if the manager doesn't like them or is not, has no intention of playing them. So that's where, trust comes in with these particular roles, especially like I mentioned, the senior ones. They've kind of honed their craft over many, many years, and you'll tend to see that, a director of football has a very good relationship with either a head of scouting or the head coach, for example, and they will then trust each other, having worked with them for a number of years. So that is the overview of who's involved. So that's the end of this video. Thanks again for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. Have a great day.